Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today, and Merry Christmas. Today, we're going to be talking about the birth story of Jesus, and we're going to be looking specifically at the star and what that means metaphysically to us and in our lives. So, before we start, I want to talk a little bit about metaphysical interpretation. In Unity, we believe that there is something beyond the story, that we can look at the symbols and the meanings to bring stories more into relation with how we live and to give more meaning to what we're learning from these stories. So in the birth story, we know that the wise men see the star off in the east and they decide to follow it. And the star leads them to where Jesus is, baby Jesus. Now, the star metaphysically, according to the revealing word, means that spark of spiritual understanding. Not full understanding, not just getting it all, but that spark. When we first get that idea or that still small voice coming up within us. And the east represents within. So the story is about the wise men seeing that spark coming from within. And then they follow that spark. And that spark leads them to Jesus, or the I am. So what does that mean for us? Well, we know that that star is that first glimpse of awareness. It's when we just start to understand the truth of our divinity. And when that happens, we have a choice to either see it and follow it and learn from it and explore it, or just to move on and let it pass. But when we follow that inner wisdom, we open up a whole different understanding of our lives, of who we are, how we show up, and we get to know the truth of our being, which is that we are divine. We get that first divine inner spark, that inner star that guides us toward deeper understanding. It's an inner conviction of our divine nature that leads us to understanding of the Christ consciousness. So this is that first subjective, not fully understand guiding light, like an inner, like the still small voice that is within us. And in order for us to get to that space where that Christ consciousness is born within us, we need that first step to be aware. In the book of Matthew, we hear the phrase, those with ears to hear and eyes to see. When we aren't open to spiritual wisdom, it doesn't matter how much is thrown at us, how many people tell us about it, how many stories Jesus told. He said he spoke in parables because his followers knew spirit. They had been exposed to spirit, but the people who were gathering weren't. They didn't know, and so they could not hear it. When we have that spark, that inner star, we are opening ourselves up to deeper understanding. We are having those ears to hear and eyes to see. We're having that ability to understand and to gain that mastery of. So the star represents really so much in that little one little word, that idea of that star. I have a quote by Renee Fishman I'd like to share with you. That still small voice is the voice of your higher wisdom. It's the heart whisper that tells you to go in the direction of the path you fear to tread. It's the sensation you get when you're about to embark on a big step in your journey. The key to hearing that still small voice is to listen for it. And to listen requires stillness. So part of this process is getting still and listening for that inner star, that inner wisdom. And that guidance leads us to becoming more of who we are. And as we practice this, it becomes more automatic. As we practice listening, following the star, it becomes easier to trust ourselves, to trust our inner guidance, and to know that we are divine. It gives that space to grow and to follow those little sparks that pop up in our lives so that we can get to a place of wisdom and peace, and we can create a life that we love. When we learn to follow our inner stars, we learn to depend on our inner wisdom instead of the external conditions. We can see beyond the appearance of what seems to be and really anchor ourselves in divine wisdom and spiritual truth. And then we can trust our inner compass. We can follow where our heart leads us and where this transformation leads us as we start to express that Christ within ourselves and in our community and our families. And we start to reflect the divine that is us. So I'd love to close today with a little prayer. Divine love expressing as us shows us the way. We follow the spark of inner wisdom, knowing that we are guided to the truth of who we are. And so it is. Amen. Thank you so much. As you move forward, I invite you to listen for your inner stars and to see where you're led. Thank you so much.